r/AskReddit by Planet Reddit. Males who got sexually harassed. What's your story? I remember in high school. I was in the hallway by myself. A girl that had a crush on me came up to me and just kind of quickly flashed me her tits. Bad timing. Because the assistant principal had just turned the corner and saw her do it. I thought she was going to get in trouble until the AP grabbed me instead and told me that I sexually harassed her and will need to fill out a police report. I was very confused. I didn't know what I did wrong. I tried explaining the situation, but the AP wouldn't believe me. She kept saying I forced her and coerced her into doing it. It didn't help that the girl's mother came up to the school and was trying to push for them expelling me, and she kept calling me a rapist. Luckily, my stepfather was called and he flew down to the school. At first, he was pissed at me, believing the AP, but I think after a bit, he realized I was telling the truth. My stepfather demanded the tape. Tape showed everything that happened, and my stepfather absolutely lost his shit on the AP. Even got escorted out by security. Lol. Ever since then, the AP still treated me like some kind of rapist while I went to school. Most confusing thing that ever happened to me in school. Had to go on a one-night Boy Scout camping trip when I was about 12. None of my friends were able to come, so I didn't have a tent mate, so they stuck me with this older guy. He was around 19 years old, but he was slow, so they let him stay in the scouts and I didn't really know him. About an hour after lights out, I wake up to him spooning me with an erection and wandering hands. I kinda just froze hoping he would stop, but after a minute or so I pushed him away and bolted out of the tent. I ended up just pacing around outside the tent for hours till the sun came up. I really wish that hadn't been my first sexual experience. I left the Boy Scouts a few months later. 19 years old. Absolutely zero reason to let someone who had already hit 18 to stay on. The troop itself is pretty ducked up if they're letting guys stay for 2 years on after they officially age out. It's called Boy Scouts, not adult, but kinda slow, so it's okay Scouts. That dude is a straight pedophile and the adult leaders are absolute dipshit for pairing a kid and a little adult in a tent. That's against the adult and kid policy in BSA. If you are over 17, regardless of mental health, you can't sleep in the same tent with a minor unless said minor is your biological kid. Edit. Holy shit, this is the most karma I've ever got. Worked at a gas station. Customer asked if we had protein shakes. I said yes. He asked where. I walked him over there and he stuck his hand down my pants. It was on video and he got a $500 fine for sexual assault. I have pretty long hair, and this one time I was at a concert and someone smacked my ass from behind. I turned around and the guy saw my beard and turned red in face. Sorry. I thought you were a girl. How in the duck would me being a girl make this okay? Reminds me of the video of that dude who has a really feminine looking butt and would go to public places and hide his face but showed his long hair and ass. And then when he would catch someone looking, he would get up in their face about it. Please link that video. I need to see it. There was this awful kid in high school, but my friend and I didn't know how bad he was at the time. My friend, his girlfriend and I were hanging out after school and the kid asked if he could hang with us too, so we said why not. We played were over at my friend's house and I lay down on the couch while my friend was in the bathroom. I closed my eyes. Not sleeping. Just chilling. This kid took out his dong and thumped it on my forehead. My friend's girl and I yelled at him. Never hung out with him again. It came out later that he had raped a girl the summer before this happened as well. What the hell was he expecting? What outcome was he hoping for? WTF. Deck dude was just ducked up. Still is, I'm sure. I used to work in a grocery store. One of the cashiers was openly into me. Whenever I had to go through her line, she would refuse to ring me up unless I'd agree to go on a date with her. Lots of customers and other staff laughing and egging her on. It's a weird type of powerlessness because of the switched genders and how everyone else was reacting. Confusingly humiliating. I was a manager at the time and had to have a conversation with her manager about what was happening. It stopped soon after. Yikes. Bartending. It happens All sorts of stories, but it comes with the territory, to an extent. I put a stop to it pretty quickly when it crosses a line and bring in security if it doesn't stop, and have the offender/s escorted out of the bar. The worst instance was at a private event where both of the hosts cornered me in the basement laundry room and tried to take off my cloths. They were grabbing my crotch the whole time and trying to pull out my junk. So, knowing they were both pretty drunk and I can decisively overpower either of them, I de-escalated the situation and defended myself. One of the hosts ended up in the laundry tub. His fat ass was stuck in there after I tossed him, and the other I locked into a storage room and barricaded the door with a tool car and shelving. I didn't get paid, but they also didn't have a bartender for the last 3 hours of their party. What do you mean you didn't get paid? That's not fair. It was a self-defense. They're lucky you didn't report it to the according authorities. Yeah. But it was all cool. Not worth the trouble of dealing with these two jagoffs. The story was worth the effort. I had a co-worker always joke about wanting to give BJs in the back room. While one day in the back room she tried. Worst part, she is married with 2 kids. Tell the husband. He is the husband. Tired and stranded at Denver airport as an 18-year-old trying to fly home from college. The airport was nearly completely empty and it was in the middle of the night. I was exhausted and fell asleep on a bench only to wake up to an airport janitor with his hand in my pants. I immediately sat up and pushed him away. He was smiling and saying something in an Eastern European accent. I left the area and went to the other side of the terminal. But I was so tired I fell asleep again and again, woke up to this same creep groping me. This was in the 1980s before ubiquitous cameras and there were no cops around. Not that I would have been able to tell. I was embarrassed and traumatized. I can still see his creepy smile and I was so angry and afraid. What the duck is wrong with people? I'm so sorry. Man. What the duck? I would be so scared. Sorry this happened, man. Hope you are okay now. I am a guy with long hair. I can't count how many times I have had other guys stick their hands down the back of my jeans to cop a feel. Edit. I have had them reach inside my pants as well as squeeze my crack from the outside. It's odd how many guys this happens to in this thread. Ducking creeps, man. I've got long, curly hair that wouldn't look out of place on a Disney princess. I'm also a semi-large, bearded dude. I've had my ass slapped and groped a couple times when my back is turned. Every time it's happened, I turn around, put on my best gravelly 3 packs a day voice, and say, what I want. Honey, if you got $50 then I got the time. They usually nope out quickly and I point and laugh as loudly as I can while they retreat. Sexual harassment happens to men frequently, but we're expected to enjoy it because we're men. We don't enjoy it. Unwanted sexual advances and actions are vile regardless of gender. And unfortunately, given the human condition, it will likely never stop. All we can do is be there for each other and aid victims of all genders in seeking help. A girl in my school just went around grabbing guys' junk and she never got in any trouble. Girl in my school used to go round kicking guys in the balls, in front of people, for zero reason, including me. And I'm talking the kind of kick that makes you crumple to the floor in pain for several minutes. Pretty sure she must be responsible for a fair amount of infertility cases. Duck all was done about it despite multiple complaints. She earned the nickname the horse. A few years later I was sitting in the park drinking with friends at night, underage so couldn't get in a bar, and someone came up to my group. Can't remember why as I was pretty drunk. I had a 75 centiliter bottle of cheap Aldi vodka that I was sipping from. After a few minutes of chatting to this guy I find out he's the horse's cousin. I go, oh yeah, I know her. She used to kick people in the balls all the time. People called her the horse. The horse? No. The horsey. Because she kicks people. The horse? Ducking no mate. The horse. My mum found me later bleeding all over the kitchen table. Vodka still in hand. Rambling about some a-hole with a horse. Not horse for a cousin. Then I lost my vodka. Ducking weird family. The ducker knew what you said. Sorry that happened. When I was bartending had a gay guy come in who would sit right where I'd have to bend over and also where I couldn't get out from behind the bar without him being able to grab my junk or ass. Also had a woman at work in a position of power over me threaten my job if I didn't sleep with her. Worked behind a bar. One woman in particular always inappropriate. Which grew louder the more she came in and the more she drank. Weirdly it was in front of her husband and daughter, also drunk. She was 50 plus. Daughter was 16-18. Escalated to physical grabbing. Groping and at one point yanking my tie and pulling me toward her. Luckily the bar tabs were too tall and the bar was too wide for her to get close enough to do anything. Also groped in a supermarket once. Didn't even see who did it. I don't think I'm even attractive. That's awful. I'm sorry that you had to deal with that. I was like 6 years old and some relatives had visited us. With those relatives was one of my aunts that was like 40 years old. Long story short, she asked me if my dong has grown and I didn't say anything, so she put her hand in my pants and touched it. I don't remember my reaction then, but I remember everyone laughing for some reason. Edit. I wasn't expecting this to get so many comments because that's my first comment. Also this isn't a big deal, at least for me, and I don't feel like a victim, but I know that's sexual harassment and my siblings freaked out when I told them. Also she was a step aunt, not an aunt, sorry for my English. Also I'm a Greek, not an Asian. The duck. The correct answer. A girl from my uni course got her significantly larger friend to come up to me in a club and physically force us together. I tried saying no and that I didn't want to numerous times, but she ended up kissing me and biting me. I managed to push her off and get out of there, but I really struggle to be around her now. No one else treats it very seriously either. Have you considered speaking to the university about it? Like even if you go through the counseling or something. When I was in 6th grade, 2 kids trapped me in the bathroom and made me have oral sex with them. It's something that still messes with me to this day. I couldn't even do anything. They said they would kill me if I told anyone. Never got over that. I told my parents and my dad thinks I'm lying for some reason. He's one of those people who think men can't be raped. I just don't understand how someone's brain can be wired to do something as horrible and disgusting as that to another human, and 2. Not believe someone who worked up the courage to tell someone and look for solace after having something like that happen to them. I'm sorry that all happened to you and hope you're doing as best as you can now. This is what I don't get about parents who just call their kids liars and dismiss everything. Even if your kid comes to you with a total fabrication of something like this, they still need help. Validate their feelings. Take them to their pediatrician. Find a therapist or counselor that they may be more comfortable opening up to. Get them help whether they've been raped or assaulted or they're making it up. Either way, something is going on and your kid needs you in their corner more than ever. I was on a streetcar/tram. When I got on there was still plenty of seats. So I sat down. A couple of stops passed and all the seats were taken. I saw an older woman without a seat struggling. So I offered her my seat, which she kindly took. Her stop was before mine and she had to pass me, still standing, to get off. Instead of just passing me, she stopped, made eye contact, winked and grabbed my private parts. It only lasted a few seconds and then she got off the streetcar. I was literally frozen in disbelief and didn't really react to it at all. Being frozen in disbelief is very common. The lesser known of the fight, flight, freeze reaction. I'm sorry that happened to you. Was at an outdoor concert when a middle-aged woman backed up into me and started dancing and rubbing her ass on my crotch. I backed up, and she backed up into me over and over before I told her to stop. I turned to my friend and started talking to him when she basically put me in a headlock and started trying to make out with me. I struggled to get free while my friends laughed and took videos. Those pictures and videos then got sent around our friend group and I got made fun of for making out with an old, fat woman. Edit. To those saying I should ditch those friends. Some I did. Some apologized. I'm not one to hold grudges for the most part. The only time I've ever hit someone is when I was dancing at a club for my 18th birthday. A guy I didn't know came up and started rubbing his crotch on my butt while I was dancing. And I moved away. He did it again. But this time he started sliding his hand across my thigh towards my crotch. I turned around, wound up, and punched him in the stomach. He was surprised, that I didn't welcome his advances. For some reason, people think that dancing at a club or concert is a great opportunity to make unwelcome advances. They think people are channeling their inner bird and doing mating dances. The old lady cashiers at the grocery store used to kick the shopping baskets over to me and ask me to bend over and pick them up for them and stuff like that. Then they would say oh when I didn't make comments and other nonsense. It was odd. I was 16/17. They were 40s 50s. What the hell? Yeah. Exactly. When I was younger, a number of my male classmates started dry humping me for fun. I was a very small kid, so I really couldn't do anything to push them back. After every turn, each of them would stand up and show their bulging erections. I'm a straight guy, by the way, and that experience still haunts me to this day. This sounds like a boarding school horror story. They did that to a kid in high school on an away game bus. He was smaller, ginger, and an a-hole. I forget what sport it was. I just remember feeling like it was really ducked, even though that kid was a ducking shithead too. I was at a party and, later in the evening, the hostess and her friend pulled me to the floor and tried to unzip my pants to measure my penis. One of them had a ruler. It was actually a struggle to break away from them. They thought it was funny. I did not. Edit. This was back in the late 80s. A different time. I never gave a thought of being sexually harassed or assaulted, but I did feel kind of humiliated and uncomfortable after. They were part of my circle of friends. I was pretty young and they were a bit older. It was a struggle to break away without hurting them. I was concerned about being seen as the aggressor. Both of their husbands were there, but I don't think they knew this went down. There were a lot of people around, but it was kind of dark in the house by this time. It's been over 30 years and I haven't seen them in a long time, but I still remember their names. Let me preface this. I'm a small dude. I had a group of friends. And one of these girls was absolutely convinced I had a hog leg for a dong for some reason. It got to the point where no gathering was left without a joke being made by her about Fuddy's huge dong he won't share. I don't have a huge dong. While initially somewhat flattering, it got really old. Really quick. So, I was at a small party while she was there, and it ended with her mostly drunk trying to pull my shorts down to prove my size, after she straight up tried to grab my junk. Shitty part was, it was just all fun and games to the whole crowd. I don't associate with most of those folks anymore. That's really lame. Definitely would get old real quick. Sorry you dealt with that bullshit. My half-sister attempted to rape me when I was 5 and she was 16. Told my parents about it and none of them gave a shit about it. I can literally not be in the same room as her. Whenever I see her, my brain instantly goes just run, but my legs refuse to move. I don't want to be rude, but your parents suck. I fully agree. When I told my dad, I haven't heard about this before. When I told my mom, are you sure it wasn't game that went too far? Gee. Thanks mom. I know it's not your daughter, but thanks a lot for pretending to give a shit. Had a girl in social study rub her chest in my face while I was sitting up against a wall and couldn't move away. I tried to push her off me, which of course made her laughing friends tell the teacher I grouped her. I hate that girl. And no one's figured out why, even though there was a classroom full of people who saw it. Edit. I'm not saying no one figured out that she was assaulting me. Everyone just seemed to forget about it. As if this wasn't a big deal. Girls can be perverts as well. My freshman year in high school, a girl asked for my help in algebra. She grabbed my hand and put it on her kitten for me to play with. I wasn't harassed, but it did catch me the duck off guard. I've literally had to explain to people that men don't just want sex all the time, and just because you want it doesn't mean they have to have sex with you, even if I'm in a relationship. If I say no, duck off, it means no one for you to duck off. It was not terribly serious but was uncomfortable. When I was 19, my boss, a woman in her 40s, was going through a pretty nasty divorce which had its roots in the fact that her husband had been having an affair with a much younger woman. On several occasions when she and I were the only people left in the office at the end of the day, she mentioned that she'd love to duck some young college guy because it would help her get over the trauma of her husband's cheating. It seemed pretty apparent that she was asking me if I wanted to go bang. It never seemed like a terribly serious issue though, because that was never coupled with any kind of comments about my job security. My interpretation was that she literally just wanted to have some hot sex with a young stud and I was the only young guy she knew. I always just kind of ignored the comments or made jokes about it and then got out of the office as quick as I could. The more serious thing was that I once got passed out drunk at a party. There was a girl at the party who had a crush on me, but I was in no way interested in her. I woke up in the middle of the night to her giving me a hand job. Did you report that last girl? No, this was over 20 years ago when I was like 18 years old and stupid. Now I probably would. I basically just got up, yelled something at her about being a psycho and went home. I did tell the people in the circle of friends she and I were both a part of. A messed up kid in my school raped another guy and said that the guy he raped him. Poor kid got expelled for being a victim. This whole thing went down at a party and someone said so and so was having sex in the person's living room, so we went to say go get a room. We heard someone saying stop it and we rushed over to break it up. An investigation went down in the school district and the cops got involved. That's when the chief of our PD said at school to drop it because the victim's parents paid off the detective that was doing the investigation. The whole thing was wasted. And no charges were pressed. I edited this BTW. The first 3 lines were original, but I added the rest because I was getting the same question, so I thought I would clear things up. Not even an investigation? Not even an investigation? Because there is so little evidence, the case is most commonly won by the first accuser. We saw this play out exceedingly clearly in all that Title IX college stuff that happened a few years back. People started accusing each other just to protect themselves after it really started heating up. One of the more memorable cases was an Occidental College case. 2 drunk people, 1 man and 1 woman, have sex. They are both confirmed as very drunk at the party by witnesses. She goes to his room and starts grinding on him while he was apparently mostly non-responsive. People pull her off of him and get her back to her room. He apparently recovers somewhat and texts her to come back, to which she agrees. She sneaks back and they have sex using a condom. When they wake up the next day, neither remember what happened because they were both that drunk. She goes to the counselors. He gets expelled. According to the college, she was unable to consent because she was drunk, and the fact that he was also drunk does not excuse him from not being able to figure that out. Both of them signaled consent in the text messages. Apparently his consent does not matter for some reason. Understandably he was like, wait, I was drunk too. How is this fair? And sued. He eventually lost the lawsuit. So this is why you report first. Because if we assume there is no sexism involved in this, then it's all about who reports first, since they fully acknowledged that both parties were drunk. Both parties signaled clear intent. And yet still expelled him. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for 3 videos a day.